episode of Control Alt Access. It's a video and audio video game accessibility podcast. I'm one of your hosts, Laura, and I'm here as ever with my lovely co-host, Arevya. How are you doing?
Hey everyone. I am jet lagged. Oh my god, I am jet lagged, but I have been to Japan.
Yeah, it
Woo!
sounds like you had a pretty good time.
I had the legit best time of my life.
I'm
I
so glad.
Yeah, I got to like see deer at the Nara Park. I already told Laura that I rode the deer train to Nara. I got to ride the Shinkansen, which is one of the fastest trains in the world. I got to see so much Pokemon stuff. We had like our own ryokan, which is like traditional Japanese hotel with like a garden and a bath in the garden on our like year anniversary for our wedding. Like it was just out of my mind. And I have been studying Japanese for some years now, and I got to use the language, and I got to talk to people and eat so much food, and we ended up like traveling to quite some places around Japan, and we ended up like in an area that was quite obviously for like senior citizens that was living there. It wasn't a close area. It was just, this is where a lot of people with senior needs are living. And we ended up in a restaurant there, and it was only old people, and they were like really skeptical to me because I did the wrong thing of going in and I took off my jacket, and I have quite a lot of tattoos, so they were like yeah, which is my fault. Like, I'm not going to do. And also, it is a country struggling a bit with over tourism at the moment, so people are a bit skeptical, and they were just like, are you American? And we were just like, we're not American. And then they were a bit more chill. They were just like, okay, if you're not American, we're okay. Which is, that's a bad thing to say, but it is sadly the reality. Americans are not good tourists at the moment.
I hate to tell you, Americans, you have a bit of a global reputation.
Yes. And then we started talking Japanese, which I really enjoyed. And then I bought something called ramenase, which is like a drink where
with the marble in the top.
Which is not popular in Japan. Like, it almost actually got extinct in Japan, but it's held alive by the weeb culture in the rest of the world.
100%. It's a bunch of people in other parts of the world at anime cons going, why does this drink have a marble in it? I love Japan.
But the thing is that this drink was really popular when these older Japanese people were young. So when they saw me ordering it, they were just like, what is this white girl doing? And then started laughing and like on so fancy Japanese that I didn't understand what they said, but they tried to help me, show me how to do it. And I was just like, you are actively going over to the girl with the tattoos. Yes, you're going to help me because like, this is the coolest thing ever. And and that day we ate like okonomiyaki, which is like made in front of you. So a pancake with a lot of noodles and meat and stuff. It's really lovely. And it was just an experience. And that was every single day. Every single day was just an experience. And I absolutely loved it.
That is so lovely. I'm so glad that it went so well. You've been excited for this for a while, and I'm really glad that it was everything you hoped it would be.
It was everything I hoped for it to be, plus, plus, plus. Like, me and my husband on the way back home were just like, this has been the trip of our lifetime. If we can never go on trips again, Dad will be sad.
You've done this one.
But we have done this one. We have done the trip.
Oh, that's lovely. Well, but by comparison, here's what I did the last couple of weeks. I played video games, I did some Bridge Command, and I went and saw some cool trans punk bands in Brighton, including one with the best name of a band I've heard in a while. If you're watching the video version, I'm wearing their shirt today. They are a punk band called the Daffodildos. I love it. I have a smiling daffodil with daffodildos written on the petals that I am wearing today.
Oh my god.
But yeah, I can't imagine you've been playing the most video games while away.
No.
Do you want to start with what you've been playing, or should I start with what I've been playing?
I can start, because it hasn't been that much. And like, I had sort of talked to most of these games before, but on like traveling to and from, there is around 14-hour airplane. So of course I played a lot of games on my mobile phone, and I was just like, hey, let's just talk about mobile phones and accessibility, eh?
Yeah, there's a lot of games you can play one-handed on a touchscreen input.
Yep. And also, like, there have been like this big shift the last years I've seen of going from mobile games are only a mom playing Candy Crush to actually people understanding that no, mobile gamers are still gamers, and a lot of mobile game a lot of mobile gamers are not necessarily being mobile game gamers because they want to. They are it because of necessity, like they are either traveling, or they don't have time to have a PC, they don't have money for a PC, or a PC is not accessible for them due to like things like being blind. And so it was nice when I started like, okay, I need to download some games before I travel, to see that the extent of what mobile games is now compared to the Candy Crush era is so much more. Like, you can get Stardew Valley, you can get Subnautica, Prince of Persia I think is the biggest one for like accessibility. Like, these are full-fledged video games, like computer games or PlayStation games that is fully fledged on your phone.
And they're not necessarily, some of them are not necessarily designed first and foremost with a mobile interface in mind, but they are playable and like they work well enough on that input screen. But also there's a good number of like recent big indies that have been ported to mobile where it's like, oh, that game just makes a lot of sense to be on the phone.
Yeah. And I think it is really smart thing to do. I think going to mobile is just an really smart thing to do. I know a lot of studios are struggling with the economics and economy of things, and it can be smart to do that because you have all of a sudden a new audience, and also often a new audience that doesn't look at themselves as gamers with all the connotation that comes with that. And I ended up downloading a bunch of games, but I ended up just playing 3 of them. So what I ended up playing was Balatro because it is really easy. I feel also the Balatro, which is, if you haven't played it, it's the wannabe poker game, but it's not poker. So what it is that you play hands of poker, like flush and straight and pairs and all of that. You try to play hands, but you have jokers that gives you the possibility to do fancy things. Like, say, if you play an 8 and an ace, you get 5 times the scoring, and so on and so on.
Like, this walkie-talkie plays on the fact that people say 10-4 in the walkie-talkie to mean over and out. So 10s and 4s are more valuable. You know, different modifiers to your values.
Yes, and then you can like play different cards that makes your cards, like regular cards in your hand, stronger. So instead of just having a king, you now have a king that has a seal on it, and just due to that like little note on it, it gives you 8 times more every time you play this card. Like,
you open a booster pack and you get an extra ace, and now you can play 5 of a kind rather than 4 of a kind, for example.
It is really, really fun, and it is mindlessly, like, it feels almost like doom scrolling, but in a game, in a positive way of like time just goes, because it's always a new thing. It always, and sort of also the game sort of follows you into a line of like, this is what the jokers want you to do this round because this is what the jokers you've gotten. And it is easy to do. Is always explanation. If you ever need an explanation of something, you just hold in the card and it explains to you what the card does. So accessibility wise, it is easy in that way. I do wish that, like, when you do things on a phone, the text should be larger. And I could make the text larger, I think. Let me just check now that I am home, because like we didn't have internet, or I could have gotten internet, but I didn't want to pay for it. So it is like the typical things are a bit too small, because you need to sit and have your phone like so close to your face while playing it, because you can't see otherwise.
It's the one real compromise with the mobile port, because this was originally designed for console, and that user interface isn't really, it's a little small on a phone screen.
Yes. I see now that you can take off screen shake, you can have high contrast mode on, and you can reduce motion because it's good because you can get a bit motion sick. But yeah, it is not easy. Like, you can't get the text bigger, which is something I see going true and true and true. Is it like the two things? One, you cannot pause in a lot of these games. Like, they have like a set of command they want to do, and then you pause. So which I find a bit annoying. And then you can't make things bigger, which I wish it was the possibility. Like, there is nothing to stop me for having a bigger screen here, and then I can just move things around with like 2 fingers or something like that. I don't see why it isn't implemented, but fun game. And I also spend a lot of time with Vampire Survivor, which we have talked about a lot. You run around, the only thing you do is actually move around, and then your character attacks things around it, and then the more you get upgraded during, because every time an enemy dies, you get diamond, you can level up, and you get fancy stuff. And again, I find these games easy to use because even though I am somebody who likes to do things properly when I play a game, and I'm saying that with the air quotation properly, but like I am one who can often check up like the wiki how to get the perfect thing. These games are so easy to just start a new round that I don't feel like I'm missing out if like, oh, I didn't get the perfect mid-maxing stuff.
I think Vampire Survivors is a really nice example of a mobile port done well, in that it is completely free to initially download, and it will never put an advert in front of you without you explicitly asking for one.
Yes.
It doesn't, like, some games when ported from console to mobile will be like, oh, you get slightly fewer lives than you get on console, but you can watch an ad to have the same number of lives as a console player would have. This doesn't do that. This is like, you have the same number of lives as a console player has. If you want an additional extra revive on top of that, you can choose to watch an ad if you want. Or you can buy DLC that's a couple of quid if you want more, like, more than what was in the base game. But the base game on PC and console was like £3, and it's like, no, we'll just give it to you for free on mobile because we recognise that landscape. Pay us or watch an ad if you want, but no pressure. Which I like.
And the thing with these games as well was that all of them were playable offline mode. Like, and like the last game I played was more like a traditional mobile game. It's made for mobile, and it's called Obsidian Knight. So you are a knight, you wake up one day, and you just fight. It's like automatic battles, and then you can have armor and you fight, and then you hit things, and then you die, get a lot of coins, buy yourself better armor and better things to hit enemies with, and you do it again and again. And it's RNG Jesus all over the place. You just hope for getting good RNG and getting enough money to buy more things. But again, these are games that are meant to just make time flies, which is what I wanted. Like, because it sounds a bit silly when I'm saying it like this, like, oh, but that just seems mindless. But that is sometimes just what we want with games. Mindless, just... I was listening to a podcast, and I had this in front of me so I could do something with my hands while I was flying. And it was also nice. But what I'm missing, and seeing over and over again, is like the possibility to pause. As I said, like, pausing mobile games. I'm so missing... Like, and it would be so easy to do. Just let me give the possibility to pause it. And they would, because you can always just shut off your phone, right? But like, that is not necessarily what you want to do. So I just wish that they understand a bit. I wish that developers for mobile games just understand, or put themselves a bit more into the situation when people are using their phone, which are commuting or waiting rooms or like those kinds of deals, or just chilling some evenings in your sofa waiting to go to bed. And I wish that like pause button is something I wish I could see more of. Text size, or definitely just size. And also the ability to because I had some other games that I tried, but before I traveled, and I can't remember what they were, but where the controller of the phone is like, if you imagine holding up a phone in your hands, and they decide where the thumb, like where you're supposed to move things or use your fingers on the screen. That can't be, because people have different size of their hand and also different mobility of their hand. So if you say these are the only 4 places you can put your thumb to move this game,
Yeah.
that ain't working. So like Vampire Survivor have given you possibility that the whole screen is a possibility to move. Wherever you push on the screen, you move, which is absolutely brilliant. And like also made it so that I could like put my phone on the little tray you have in front of you. And like I could put my phone all the different places and use all of my fingers to play this game, not just having to hold it up, which made it so that I could play for more hours than a regular game if I have to hold the phone, because phones today are heavy.
Oh yeah.
So yeah. But that was me rambling about mobile games. It's not anything more fancy than that. I have more coming up, but no, this last couple of weeks has been Japan.
Yeah. No, you did entirely the correct thing by just not paying attention to video games for the most part. Hell yeah.
Yeah.
Well, in that case, shall I talk about what I've been playing this
100%.
past couple of weeks?
100%.
Let's talk about the big one, and I'll stay spoiler free because I know you've not had a chance to yet. I have been playing Pokémon Legends Z-A. I'm really enjoying it.
Good.
I've had a great time with it. For reference, before I get started, I've been playing most of my playthrough on the Switch 2. For anyone who is interested in this game and is curious about the Switch 1 version, the Switch 1 version runs at 30 FPS, but it's pretty stable. Its performance is much more in line with Legends Arceus than Scarlet and Violet when it launched, for example. I think the Switch 1 performance is totally acceptable, and you will still have a good time with this. But yeah, for anyone who doesn't know, Pokémon Legends Z-A is the new Pokémon game that is revisiting the Generation 6 games. It is set in Kalos, it is set in basically Pokemon's equivalent of Paris, and the whole game takes place in one big circular city with little area, sort of biomes spread throughout the city for catching Pokemon. And the big mechanical difference, and this is where a lot of the accessibility difference is going to come, I think, for a lot of people, is real-time battles rather than turn-based battles. So the way that this works is, in traditional Pokemon games, you select your move from a menu, the opponent selects their move, you both do one move each, and all of your moves are limited to how many times you can use them before you need to go to the Pokemon Center. They have something called PP, which is power points, I believe. The more powerful a move, the fewer times you can use it before you've got to go heal. The way that they balance it in this is moves that are more powerful have a longer cooldown timer, almost like an MMO. So a powerful move takes longer before you can use it again. And you can lead your Pokemon around the arena in battles by using the analog stick to make your trainer run around, and the Pokemon will follow you. This is important because certain moves will now leave damaging effects in the world. Things like toxic spikes will physically leave poisonous spikes on the floor, and you've got to, like, make sure your Pokemon doesn't run into them or attack through them, or they'll take damage. Certain moves are now timing-based where they weren't before. Things like Protect, which used to give you 1 turn of damage immunity, now gives you, like, a second or so of damage immunity, and you're trying to time it. So, like, I see an attack coming in, I'll use Protect, like, reactively rather than predictively. I really like this this new combat system, but it is inherently going to be less accessible for some people. Much like yeah, go on.
Yeah, I was going to say, like you said, that if anybody watched the video, they could see me doing the biggest stink face ever.
Yeah,
I hate active combat. Like, oof, that is like one of the things why I haven't played a lot of the modern Final Fantasy games.
So it's not quite as, like, you're constantly pressing buttons as, like, the modern Final Fantasy games. It is... The way I've been trying to describe the feel of this combat system is, if you've ever played Dungeons and Dragons, and it takes you, like, 5 minutes to go around the table and have everyone go, like, I do this, I do this, I do this, the monster does this, we've done 1 round of combat. Canonically, that took 6 seconds. A round of combat in D&D is 6 seconds. All of those actions happened within 6 seconds. So if you were to then do, like, a film adaptation and show those actions, yeah, you still went round and essentially picked your actions in turn, but you're just seeing it happen much faster. And it feels like that's kind of what this combat system feels like to me. It feels almost like a turn-based system that's just happening a bit quicker. It is inherently going to be less accessible for some reasons. It requires you probably to be able to turn your camera in real time, because if, I don't know, there's those damaging spikes on the floor and you're running around the arena, you need to be able to turn the camera to keep those in view. So you're going to need to use 2 analog sticks at once, which is a thing that hasn't previously been necessary. The fact that certain moves now require you to have a degree of timing to them for things like Protect is inherently going to be a little less accessible. I have been really enjoying that combat system. It feels... I expected it to feel more real-time than it does. It feels like turn-based happening with shorter delays.
Yeah.
And I have found it way more satisfying in practice than I expected it to. Talking more broadly, I'm going to bring up my notes quickly, because I made a bunch of notes about accessibility. So, there is a dodge roll, and much like Legends Arceus, Pokemon can attack you, the trainer, and if you take too many attacks before you've had a chance for, like, the healing to kick in, you might get knocked out as a trainer. So there is a degree of real-time dodging that it was present in Legends Arceus. It's not going to be to everyone's tastes. Positives: the sprint, by default, is a toggle rather than a button hold.
Oh, that's good.
You press B, you start sprinting. You press B, you stop sprinting. That's great. There is some good, like, tracking stuff. There's a lot of side quests in this game. I think I'm approaching, like, 100 side quests completed at this point. And there is a good system for, like, pinning the current quest you want to do on your map. Whenever you pick up a new quest, you can just press plus to automatically start tracking that side quest, which is very appreciated. As someone that really enjoyed in Legends Arceus the Pokédex system, where you had a bunch of tasks to be completing, to be ticking things off, and that was very good for my autistic, I want to complete a bunch of lists senses. It's not exactly the same. It's no longer tied to the Pokédex and tasks per specific Pokemon, but there is still a, here is a bunch of tasks to complete and we'll give you rewards for it, task system, and it is scratching a very similar itch for me, which is good. You can always access your storage boxes of Pokemon you're not currently using without having to go to a Pokemon Center at any time.
Oh, that's good.
So if you're not in a battle, you can just swap what Pokemon are in your team, 0 consequences, which is nice. The game has autosave that you can't turn off. I was initially concerned about this, mainly from a shiny hunting perspective, and I'm going to go on a little bit of a shiny hunting tangent for a minute. Turns out it was fine. So, shiny hunting in this game, for anyone who's unaware, shiny Pokemon, about 1 in 4,000 odds of encountering one. They don't do anything different, they're just a different colour. I like obsessively hunting them. In this, there is one way to increase your shiny odds, and that is to complete all the research tasks and get the shiny charm. There's no other shiny hunting mechanics that we can tell for making shiny hunting more than 1 in 1,000 odds of encountering. And as someone that shiny hunts, I was a little concerned about not being able to turn off autosave in case I accidentally scared away a shiny, or like, oh, I saw it, but then I teleported, like, I was teleporting away just as I noticed it, and now it's gone. And not being able to set, like, a hard save and guarantee go back to it. Turns out I didn't need to worry about that. The way that this game works with its autosave is it won't autosave. There's certain things that won't autosave, which is like fast travel doesn't create an autosave, knocking a Pokemon out doesn't create an autosave, and scaring a Pokemon away doesn't make an autosave. So if you see a shiny Pokemon and you put a manual save down and you accidentally scare it away, knock it out, fail to catch it, teleport away, none of those will save over the fact that your shiny's gone.
Yeah, that's good.
More than that, and this is, like, real in the weeds, but I need a place to talk about this because I'm excited about it. The game in its code has, like, 10 hidden slots for the last 10 shiny Pokemon that you saw. And, like, if you see an 11th, it'll knock the first one off.
Yeah.
And what these slots do is, when you, like, fast travel away or get knocked out or leave an area and come back, it, like, re-rolls those Pokemon to, like, find out if they're shiny and, like, you know, changes the gender and the stats and whatever. If you find a shiny, it will put it in one of those 10 slots, and those things will no longer re-roll the Pokemon. Meaning that the last 10 shiny Pokemon you saw but haven't caught are really stable in the world.
Yeah.
You can get knocked out, you can fast travel away, you can reset your game, you can go catch other stuff, you can run to the Pokemon Center to buy Pokeballs and come back, and it will still be exactly where it was and still shiny.
Yeah.
Which is really good for, like, getting rid of my FOMO of, like, oh no, did I accidentally miss a shiny somewhere?
Yes.
Also, they make the sound again, the little sparkle sound when they spawn. They do a sparkle animation. They have glitter floating across them.
Shiny.
There's a
Divas.
if you lock onto them with the camera, there's a shiny icon. There's so many ways to go, yeah, that's shiny, don't worry about it. There's a shiny here. Which again, alongside the even if you didn't notice it, it'll still be there when you come back. It's taken so much of my worry about missing a shiny away, and that's been nice.
That's good.
The flow of this game generally is, like, at least at the start, is very daytime you go catch Pokemon and do quests. At night you do lots of battles.
Yep.
When you get a bit further in, it's definitely a bit latter half plot loaded. Like, the first, like, number of hours I spent with that game, it's like, it's gonna be catch, battle, that's kind of it. And as you get further in, it's like, oh, I reached a crossing point and suddenly there's a lot of plot, and I'm having a lot of fun with that. It's odd pacing-wise in that regard, how much it reloads some of its more interesting ideas.
Yeah.
It has a lot of very fun characters I've been having a great time with. I like that all the Nurse Joys have slightly different designs from each other.
Nice.
And there's one of my favorites I have dubbed Stoned Nurse Joy. she looks very tired but very happy with her sort of half awake eyes. I'm like, yeah, that one's cool.
Yeah, that's cool. You're stoned.
Yeah. Let me just... Oh yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, no, I'm just saying, like, it is, for me, I am like, as I haven't played this game, going to play it, just waiting a bit. And I have to say, I'm still scared that Pokemon is going away from their, like, possibility of timed-based fighting and one-hand possibilities. Because for me, Pokemon has been, like, the big champion of people, for many years, for people who are have, like, multiple of disabilities that quite severely affect them. And, like, Pokemon has been at one thing, even when I talk to companies like Toby, who does the eye tracking system, where it is easy for people to play it because it is only one thing at a time. So hearing that they're going away from this is scaring me.
What I would say is, I wouldn't panic that, like, the next mainline Pokemon game is going to be like this. You know, it's a sample size of, like, 2, but Legends Arceus was very similar. It seems like the Legends series is there we want to mess around with new mechanical ideas, and then we'll go back to, like, you know, the Sword and Shield, Scarlet and Violet, the next, like, big pair of games, and it'll be back to turn-based battling. And
maybe this is what Pokemon also needs to be more creative in doing things different, aka also accessibility, because when they then start doing more, they also see the problems arising, which they sort of have been able to hide away from due to them just being family friendly, but then being accessibility by default.
Yeah, so I'm okay with a less accessible side game existing and the main like, you know, doing something, wanting to do something like this, but keeping the main series able to have that, like, lack of time pressure on gameplay. You know, I am open for Legends to be that series where they experiment with that stuff. A couple of other quick things. You can turn off Rumble. You can increase or decrease the text speed. You can change whether the minimap rotates or not. You can invert the camera and change its sensitivity, and there's a couple of audio sliders. There's no button remapping, Uh, there's not a lot in the way of accessibility stuff. There's some cognitive stuff that's kind of nice. If you're trying to catch a Pokemon, there's a number of little upwards arrows that will tell you how likely you are to catch that Pokemon with its current health and the kind of ball you're going to throw. So you have an idea of like how successful you're likely to be. It's definitely going to be less accessible for some people, but I am having a lot of fun with it.
That's good.
It is what it is. The other one I'm going to talk about, in terms of things I've been doing recently, I've been playing a game called Ball X Pit, or Ball Pit. It's a very silly game. I'm going to talk about it in more depth in a couple of weeks. But I've been continuing to go to Bridge Command, which I've been talking about a bit here on this show, which is the go pretend to be in Star Trek on a spaceship in London thing. And I have been having a really... I've met a lot more disabled people who have been attending there recently, and it's been very lovely. I've had a couple of people mention this show that they found Bridge Command through Control Alt Access and felt confident enough to go because of us talking about accessibility here, and I was like, oh, yay.
Awesome.
But it's been really nice seeing how some of their accessibility stuff has worked in practice. Without going into too many specifics, I recently went to a special event mission they did called Operation Daedalus that was like 40 people split into 4 groups of 10 doing a very big mission together.
Yeah.
And that inherently required a lot of people in a very crowded space, sort of self-organizing what tasks they were doing to a degree. And I was very impressed at, like, the staff's ability to be on top of, cool, whatever station within this, like, big mission room someone wants to be at needs to be, like, all the stations need to be wheelchair accessible, but also, if someone wants to be the person running information between the desks, we need to make sure that, like, that is accessible, that we're not just making space for wheelchair users at a particular moment, but that constantly there is enough space for them to be darting around the same way someone running would be able to.
Yep.
Which is really appreciated. I saw a lot of great proactiveness around making sure that people who were disabled were given space to have priority decision about which positions were going to be accessible for them and filling in other positions after that, which was very cool. Doing that big group mission really emphasized to me how good a job they are doing of making accessibility in big group sessions not only be very normalized, but something that they are encouraging the people attending to think in an accessibility-minded mindset about. Without making that a big deal. And that's really cool to see.
That's well done. Yeah.
Yeah. I'm not going to go into big, like, specifics about that recent event, but, like, the short version of how Bridge Command's been going for me recently, just because I want a space to talk about how that experience has been going. I have been doing a second string of campaign missions. I talked a little while ago about doing a big 5-mission story in a single weekend. I'm doing another 5-mission story, but over, like, 5+ weeks this time, so there's, like, a week's gap in between. And without spoilers of any kind for the second campaign, it's been really nice having a week between each mission to theory craft and work on non-standard solutions to problems, and to, like, really live in the world for a week between each mission has been really nice. I've gotten so invested in the plot of Bridge Command. I can say about this much. I'm trying to talk around spoilers for some spoilery events. The first campaign I did with Bridge Command, there was one member of staff who played a character called Zizix, who was, like, a major character in our campaign, who was, like, part of all 5 missions we did. And I was recently captain on a special event mission that was the mission where Zizix died. that character is no longer part of Bridge Command's story. The actor is still around playing other characters to pull back the curtain, but this character died on a mission where I was in charge of trying to keep enough power in the med bay to keep them alive long enough we could maybe save them. And none of their death was my fault. There was an event that no one could have foreseen that was the end result.
Yeah.
But it was really being like this character that I had like a specific multi-part story with, that I was then in charge of a mission to try and help keep alive, who ultimately didn't make it. And then like members of staff who were like other characters from Bridge Command coming and having conversations with me after that all went down to be like, I know it's going to feel like it was your fault, it's not your fault.
Yeah.
Commiserating. It was really moving. Like, they did a really good job of making me, like, very invested in a character and then feel very genuinely at their loss while being, like, a major part of a storyline around that.
Yeah.
I don't know how deliberate it was that I ended up on the team that was so heavily involved in, let's try and save him, oh no, we couldn't save him. But it was some of the best improv storytelling I've ever experienced, and I really can't say enough good things about Bridge Command storytelling recently. It's been very on point.
It feels like if you are working with something like improv as a professional thing, you really need to know how humans like, you need to know how human reacts in situations that are different situations.
Yeah.
And like how different humans react differently to situations. So it seems like they're doing their knowledge about human psychology. Actually, they're putting some time into knowing a bit more about humans.
Yeah, that whole point about knowing human psychology, yeah, they're very good at they're very good at recognizing, oh, if we're going to do a plot beat, look at who might have a specific reaction to it. Can we build something special around that so that that plot point is closest to the people it's going to mean the most to based on what missions they've already done? And I'm like, that's very, very thoughtful design.
Yes.
But it also, like, and the reason I think this is relevant to accessibility is it's very clear that they recognized the potential emotional impact of the plot beat they had designed.
Yeah.
And were ready to go, let's, in character, in universe, but like, you know, when we're testing the waters, check the emotional impact of the story we've put you in the middle of.
Yeah.
Because I was very much put in the middle of a story of like, hey, you know that character that's probably the character you have the most bond with? Yeah, you're going to have people screaming at you that if, like, the power goes too low, they're going to die, and it's going to be your fault. Do something about it. That might need a debrief afterwards. We'll find a way in character to check in on that. And I think that's, like, really... That's a very healthy way to do something like this.
Yeah, because this isn't supposed to scar people for life.
Yeah.
So this is supposed to be fun.
It's meant to be fun, even in the moments where a mournful song is being sung at someone who passed away, and you're stood there in the room going, was that my fault? I don't think it was my fault, but it wasn't my fault. I mean, I was the one captain in that ship at the time. Could I have done anything different? Oh no. Just having that little check-in of like, no, it's fine. It's all good. Yeah, with that done, shall we talk about a couple of newsy bits for this week?
We shall.
Yeah, let's start with, we've got some information about accessibility in Battlefield 6, which I think is out now. Is Battlefield 6 out now? Let me double check.
Is out now, because I have friends going ham. That's the only thing that I'm doing.
I was gonna say, I was pretty sure it was out. I'm gonna be honest, Pokemon came out this week, so my blinders have been completely on. I've not checked anything else accessibility-wise. But we know a bit about the accessibility stuff in the game, and it sounds pretty cool. You can adjust the opacity and size of UI elements. You can adjust the minimap for things like, do you need it to rotate or stay stationary? the size of all of your icons for things like objectives, ping icons, friendly enemies, stuff like that. You can change your field of view, both on foot and in a vehicle, separately from each other, including on console. You can't turn off camera shake, but you can reduce it at least. You can adjust motion blur for weapons and motion blur for the world as separate things. Players can turn off chromatic aberration, can turn off head bob when sprinting in first person, super important. There is custom profiles to completely customize your colors, outside of, like, there's presets for color blindness, but you can just completely change the colors of things yourself. You can change the thickness and opacity of your crosshairs. This is going to be a long list. There's a lot of good stuff in here.
There is a lot of things in this game, yeah.
Yeah. Lots of subtitle sizes and opacity options, speaker names, subtitle outlines. You can toggle who you get subtitles for and what kind of text for. Do you need mono audio? Volume sliders. Turn down tinnitus sound effects. Make sound effects like tinnitus sound effects less frequent. There is menu narration, like audio narration of menus, that's available during first startup, importantly. You can remap all your controls. There is aim assist options that include things like input curve, snapping, slowdown, assists for gameplay controls like vaulting, vaulting automatically reloading, automatically putting your parachute out. You can pause during the campaign, but not during multiplayer. That makes sense. Saving is automatic. Multiple custom difficulties you can swap at any time during the campaign. Yeah, good amount of stuff going on.
Sorry, I needed to write something down. But I have also heard a lot of people. So this is not my kind of game, my cup of tea at all. So I haven't played it. But I have a lot of friends who absolutely love this game. So it has been nice to see them play it, and like I watch them on Discord and stuff. And the thing that I feel is, we have like talked about this before as well, but it is always nice when one of those more masculine macho games starts being accessible, because I have had my more like friends who not necessarily, I'm not going to say that they don't care about things, because they do, they just go through life a bit more like
they don't think about some of these things as often because they're not as impacted by them.
Yeah,
maybe.
and also they don't like to necessarily have the deeper conversations and stuff. And that you're allowed, that is okay. Like, everybody doesn't need to be like me and Laura, because that would make a really, really stressful world. If everybody was going to think about everything 1,000 times. But they are going to be they're like easy to go with things. And I saw that they played the game, asked them about it, and they were just like, Elizabeth, because they know me in real life, I am going to tell you something. And I was just like, okay, I am now shocked. Let me hear. Did you know that this game has so much quality of life? And I was just like, oh, quality of life. Show me. Come on. And they went into the accessibility tab, and they were just like, this is so I was just like, accessibility, you mean? And they were just like, yeah. Accessibility, quality of life. It's just making the game better for everyone. Everybody on my team loves it. I was just like,
is this the rebrand we need? Is we just label the accessibility menu the quality of life menu, and then no one will complain about it anymore?
And to be honest, I think it's like they were just like, oh, but accessibility isn't that quality of life? And I was just like, yes. To be honest, yes. Technically, yes. And they were just like, yeah, no, I haven't played Battlefield since Battlefield 4. I am too old for this shit now. My eyes can't work. My ears can't work. My knees creaks when I'm standing up and sitting down. I need some of this shit. And I was just like, yes.
What have we been saying for forever? If you want to keep playing games the way you do now as you age, eventually you're going to need these settings. Yes. Get excited about them.
And then
even if not for you now, for your future you.
And then a lot of them started being like, yeah, but like it is a bit cheating because that is always like they try to not like because I don't know, don't necessarily want to admit it, but like they were just like,
Yeah.
yeah, it's a bit little bit cheating. And I was said to them like, dude, if it's in the game and something everybody can do, that is not cheating. That is just
Yeah.
using the game mechanics. And they were just like, yeah, yeah, you have a point. That's so true. I'm going to say that next time somebody called me out for it. And I was just like, yeah, you go, man.
Yeah, hooray.
So, but people are really loving the game. And again, I love to see a game that have success also being accessible because no
Yeah.
matter how much we want to and doesn't want to and everything, accessibility, yeah, I like have a sort of maybe a brand issue with the fact that people think still that it's just for disabled people, which is not true. But just then whenever a huge title, an IP like this comes out with a lot of accessibility, we see people who are now getting older going like, maybe there is something here for me. And it's this trickle, it's starting, the wheels are starting to turn, and these things help. So I'm glad for that.
Yeah. Hooray. Other stuff we can very quickly touch on. The Accessible Games Initiative, we talked about this earlier in the year. This is the group of lots of game publishers that came together to go, let's agree on some wording for accessibility tags and like the definitions of them so that we're all on the same page. They've now put up on their website specific guidance for like, hey, are you a developer? This is how you like. This is the tags that apply to you in a bunch more specificity. But also, if you're like a games website, like let's say you're itch.io and you want to start like offering these tags on your website, this is how you should be implementing these tags in a way that is consistent with how we're encouraging other people to use the tags.
Yeah.
So like a lot more granular information about like developer or storefront side. Here is how these tags should be used to keep their meaning consistent.
Yeah.
Which is important info to have. Great to see that out there. What else have we got this week? We've got
game accessibility. Oh, the Game Awards 2025 is coming upon us, and as always, the Game Nexus, Game Alley Nexus page said that if your game was released after November 2020, November 22nd, 2024 and implement accessibility through design and or option, please reach out to the Innovation in Accessibility jury for the Game Awards. So like if you have something, be proactive and actually let people know about it.
Yeah, award season is creeping up very quickly,
yes.
And if you want to get your game noticed for accessibility efforts it's made, now is the time to be getting loud about that.
Absolutely. And also we have it seems now that you can go on Steam if you refund a game on Steam because it's not accessible for you. That is actually a reason on a drop down menu now, which is missing the accessibility features that I need.
Yeah, so we don't know how long this has been around. It's been noticed recently. We don't know how long it's been about as an option. The way that Steam's refund process works is that you don't need a justification for a refund. If it's been less than 2 hours of play, you can get a refund. What this is useful for is providing developers information.
Yes.
If a game is inaccessible and you tick this as a reason when refunding it, because I know a lot of disabled people, when lacking good accessibility review coverage of a game, will just buy it, see if it's accessible, refund it. If not, it's so useful for a developer to have like a graph that goes, yeah, this many sales got refunded because your game wasn't accessible. That's data that might help them to go, in future, I guess we should work on that.
Yes.
Anything that tells you a quantifiable number of lost sales because your game was inaccessible, you shouldn't need that motivation to make your game accessible, but it can't hurt.
And also, a lot of times, who decides what is going to be implemented and working on next, and the people working on a game might not be the same people. For like having concrete evidence that you can show a shareholder or somebody else who pulls a string and say like, hey, just let you know, 8% of all Refund because of this accessibility thing that is
Yeah.
really easy to implement. Can we
Yeah.
actually have 4 months of time set off to do it? They might say yes. So yeah.
Agreed, yeah. So I think that's everything for us this week. Shall we talk about where to find us on the internet and
Yeah,
such?
first and foremost, I have to say sorry because I think I have yawned at least 50 times during this recording, and I'm so sorry, but I am
Oh no,
seriously jet lagged.
I don't blame you. I'm not jet lagged, and I've been a bit yawny today on recording, so it's fine. No one's gonna judge.
Good. Yes, but guys, I'm still quite ill, so things are a bit like slow on my recording and stuff. But I'm trying to get back into making more content. So you can find me everywhere online under the name Arevya, and unless it is on TikTok because somebody stole my name, where I am Arevya Gaming. And I am going to make some content talking a bit about like really cool accessibility stuff I found in Japan, which is
Yeah,
like
you told me a little bit about that, and I'm very excited
it,
to yeah.
yeah, it absolutely blew my mind. Some of the accessibility I found over there, which I've never seen in the West, so that was so cool. So yeah, keep up, go in and look at my stuff. Use your eyes.
Lovely.
Where can I find you, Laura?
You can find me at Laura K Buzz pretty much everywhere. Patreon's the one that pays the bills. YouTube's where most of my stuff gets posted. I have an accessibility review of Pokémon Legends Z-A that you can go check out. What have I got coming up? There's a new episode of Fix Your Heart or Die, where we talk about the David Lynch movie The Elephant Man, and how that film tackles subtle and overt forms that ableism can take, and the ways that ableism can be a real spectrum of the ways it presents itself. So go check that out. That's out now. I'm gonna have some stuff coming up in the near future about Bridge Command and the storyline that involved that character's death, and talking about some thoughts I have about that I am excited to get writing. Laura K Buzz, you'll find all the stuff I'm up to.
Yeah.
Yeah, with that all said, thank you so much everyone for watching or listening. We will be back with another episode in a couple of weeks.
Bye.